And now, back to the nine wonderful muses, beginning with Apollon Musagetes. You see, in the context of the muses, the title Apollo or Apollon Musagetes translates to Apollon, leader of the muses. This role is central to Greek mythology as it represents the transition from raw, chaotic inspiration to a structured divine harmony. Now, as Musagetes, Apollo is not just a member of the group, but their conductor and protector. He coordinates their individual talents into a single cosmic symphony. In art, he is typically depicted as a musician wearing a long flowing robe, palla, holding a guitarra or lyra. The divine harmony. At the feast on Mount Olympus, the muses would sing in chorus, while Apollon played the lyra. This collaboration symbolized the order of the universe and the mediator, while the muses provided the creative madness or divine breath. Apollon provided the logos, reason and structure, to shape that breath into art. You see, the worship of Apollon Musagetes was prominent in locations where the muses were also honored. That would be in Delphi, as the home of the oracle, and a major site for Apollon. He was worshipped here as the leader of the choral arts. Then, of course, Mount Helicon. Near the Valley of the Muses, Apollon was often venerated alongside them to ensure the correctness of their musical competitions. And, of course, Mount Parnassus. This mountain was sacred to both Apollon and the Muses, serving as their shared home in many poetic traditions. And lastly, the title Musagetes reinforces the idea that Zeus, the father, provided the authority. Mnemosyne, the mother, provided the memory, the content, and Apollon, the leader, provided the form and rhythm. Without Apollon Musagetes, the muse's inspiration was seen as potentially overwhelming or wild. With him, it became music in the highest Greek sense, ordered, beautiful, and civilizing. Next, let us talk about stories, because, of course, there are also a few important mythological stories about the wonderful muses. But in order to not get too deep in here, as it's still meant to be just a short trip, summaries will suffice here. Beginning with the humiliation of the Sirens. You see, the Muses were also involved in a legendary musical battle against the Sirens, the dangerous bird women of the sea. So, this basically is just two parts, beginning with Hera's scheme. The wonderful goddess Hera, wishing to test the Muses, persuaded the Sirens to challenge them to a singing match. Then, after the Muses easily outsung them, they punished the Sirens by plucking out their feathers and wearing them as triumphant crowns. This myth explains why the Sirens were often depicted in late art as lacking wings or feathers. Next, the tragedy of Tamuris. You see, the story of the Trajan bard Tamuris is a warning about individual pride. And here again we have two parts. First, the boast. Tamuris, a gifted musician, claimed he could outsing even the Muses. He demanded that if he won, he could marry or sleep, in some versions, with all of the 9 Muses. Now, the Muses were enraged by his arrogance and struck him blind. They took away his memory, causing him to forget how to play the lyre and sing. And here again, I must note that all of those stories fall into the first category of mythology, which is mythology, as stories with pedagogical value, lessons. In this case, it's pretty obvious. The mothers of legends. Individually, the Muses are the mothers of some of Greece's greatest figures. For example, Calliope and Orpheus. Calliope, which is again the muse for epic poetry, is the mother of Orpheus, the greatest musician. When Orpheus was torn apart, the Muses scattered his limbs and buried them at the foot of Mount Olympus. Nightingales were said to sing sweeter there than anywhere else. And we have Clio and Hyacinthus. Clio, again the muse for history, is sometimes named as the mother of the youth Hyacinthus, who is a lover of Apollon. The next one might be a bit surprising: guardians of the dead. The Muses also honored fallen heroes. And according to the Odyssey, when Achilles fell at Troy, the 9 Muses emerged from the sea to sing a funeral dirge that lasted for 17 days. They moved gods and men to tears with their lament. They are also the teachers of the Sphinx. In the myths surrounding the city of Thebes, the Muses played an rather unexpected role in the fate of the city. To keep it short, the monster Sphinx who terrorized Thebes did not invent her famous riddle herself. According to Greek tradition, it was the Muses who taught the Sphinx her riddle. Next, the mentorship of Aristaeus. The Muses were not only patrons of the arts, but also of the civilizing science and pastoral skills. Very briefly, Aristaeus, the son of Apollon and Kyrene, was entrusted to the Muses as a child. They raised him and taught him the arts of healing, prophecy, and beekeeping. And this story establishes the Muses as bridge between divine knowledge and human survival. Sometimes the Muses are also judges. For example, judges of the contest Apollon versus Marsyas. The Muses often served as the ultimate impartial jury in divine disputes involving music. Again, to keep it short, when the satyr Marsyas challenged Apollon to a musical contest. Marsyas on the flute Apollon on the lyra. The Muses were called upon to judge. In many versions, they initially found the two equal, until Apollon challenged Musagetes to play his instrument upside down, an impossible feat for a flute, leading the Muses to crown Apollon the victor. And the last one for here, the arbitration of Adonis. The Muses' wisdom was sought even by other Olympians to settle personal conflicts. So, when Aphrodite and Persephone fought over who should keep the beautiful youth, Adonis, Zeus appointed the muse Calliope to act as a mediator. She agreed that Adonis should spend 1/3 of the year with each goddess, and the final third on his own. Simple and fair.